Most of us have a love-hate relationship with our computers, don't we? They, along with the internet, have made it so easy to connect with friends around the world, and at the same time have made it easy for the bad guys to commit cyber crimes. So joining us to chat about this today is Stephen Graham. He is a computer information technology instructor at Lethbridge Polytechnic. Welcome, Stephen. Good to have you with us today.
Good to be here. Thanks, Jeanette.
Awesome. Okay, so Stephen, how bad are things with cybersecurity issues these days? Are we gaining ground against cyber criminals, or are they getting more and more clever? It does seem like they're getting more clever, doesn't it?
It does. It's a cat and mouse game. Every time we get better at securing, they get better at breaking, and
Yeah,
it's an age old story. Ever since we put locks on the doors to our house, people have figured out where to find the windows.
true. Exactly. So what are the most common cyber threat? Is it malware?
So probably the most common threat that we actually see the result from is malware, and that could be something like ransomware or cryptojacking or malicious deletion of files or participating in other kinds of attacks. Denial of service is one that we hear a lot about in the news. Uh, a lot of it comes down to that malware gets there, and often it's either through some kind of phishing attack or some kind of like man in the middle kind of attack.
Right. Can you maybe explain the basics of how a malware attack takes place?
Sure. So malware is really just any software that gets installed on your computer that does something bad. And it can get onto your computer a variety of ways. Usually, it requires you, the computer user, to install something, and you can do it intentionally or you can do it unwittingly. The Quite often we'll see that you'll get an email that says, "Hey, here's an important bank statement, or here's a shipping information from FedEx or Amazon or some other big name company," and you've probably had one of those.
I've had
And
tons of those, and they come through text messages on your phone too.
yeah, so
Yeah.
you click on it and it takes you to a website and you say, well, you have to open this file. So you need to download this app to open this file. And as soon as you download that app and
Oh,
install it,
okay.
you have invited somebody into your house. Malware's like vampires. They don't get in unless you invite them usually. Uh,
Yeah, and they don't get out very easily
and
either.
they will not go away. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it almost makes you a little bit suspicious from anything then, because it just seems like every day now there's some sort of an app that we have to download onto our computer. I mean, are most of these safe? Is it mostly the ones that are coming to us that are sort of uninvited, that are unprompted? It just suddenly showed up. Those are the ones we have to be really suspicious of.
We should be pretty suspicious of the ones where somebody says, "Here's new software, you should install it." You should be
Yeah,
suspicious of that.
yeah.
It's sort of like restaurant food. You go to a restaurant, you pick from the menu, you choose what you're going to get. If somebody walks up to you on the street and says, "Here's some of my food, you should eat it now," maybe you want to give that a second thought. So when you're working if you work at a company, the company, you'll get an email from HR or from the IT department that says, "We're upgrading this. You should go to this site here and install this." Maybe you want to check and make sure it came from your IT department, but then do the thing that you have to do. If you're just at home and you want to play the newest version of a game, go to an app store. Most of the apps on the two big app stores for your phones are fairly well vetted. Uh, but if somebody out of the blue emails you and says, "Oh, you need to install this right away," the alarm bell should go off. If you don't recognize who they are, if there's some kind of urgency implied, like you must do it within 12 hours or the world comes to an end, or if they're directly asking for money or information about you.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And those alarm bells are really the signs for a phishing attack, where somebody wants something from you, like access to your computer or access to your company, or just more information about you, like your banking or your social insurance number or any of that.
Yeah, your spidey senses should start tingling for sure if that's happening, right?
Right? Yes.
Now, Stephen, we all love a good deal, right? And as we browse the internet, we get, of course, bombarded with pop up ads. And I understand that some of these can be malware. So, how can we recognize what malware is opposed to what it isn't? And most importantly, what are the tools that we can use to protect ourselves against it?
So a lot of that pop up thing, advertising is advertising, and it's don't let your do let your spidey senses work in this case. If it feels kind of sketchy, maybe it is kind of sketchy. Maybe the deal is too good to be true. When you're presented with a link, you'll click on it because you want to see more about the deal on shoes. I'm looking for shoes. That's why that one pops to mind. And I'm looking for a good deal on shoes. And this one pops up, and I click on it, and it says on the ad that it's for such and such, but then I see immediately in my browser that it's some other place. I'm no longer at insert big name shoe company here. I'm at something else, right? So right away, that's a stop doing things kind of moment. Once you start clicking on things, that's where you're giving your computer permission to do the work. So you just kind of need to really take a look at whether what's being presented to you is actually connecting to the right place.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And of course, you mentioned this off the top there with phishing scams. And I understand that these phishing scams are still one of the top problems out there. So, can you explain how these work and what we should do to avoid these?
Yeah. So from the purpose of a phishing scam in the big picture is to get information from you, either directly about you so that they can access your personal finances or personal anything, or to get enough information about you that they could impersonate you to someone else and get pretend to be you to get someone else to trust them because they trust you. Right. So that's the whole purpose. So the way it usually works is someone will approach you by email or by text and say, I'm so and so, and I really need some information about this, or you need to enter your password on this website because it's being compromised. Really, what they're looking for is what is your password, so that they can immediately go and change your password, and now they own your account.
Eee,
And
scary stuff.
that is super terrible. So one of the strongest ways to combat that currently is using what's called two-factor authentication. Uh, and a lot of people don't like it, but it's very secure. So when I go to log in, I go to the site that I know, not to the site that they direct me to. I would go to my Amazon or my Google or my Facebooks or wherever I'm going, and I put in my username and my password, and then it sends my email or my cell phone a code, and then I have to be in physical possession of that other thing to be able to log in, right? So, unless somebody steals your phone and it does this, you're going to be pretty safe because without that code, you can't get in.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I love those. You're right. It can be a little bit daunting and annoying, but yeah, I feel more secure when that happens for
Yeah.
sure.
So if you do accidentally disclose some personal information about yourself that allows somebody to try and hack your account, you still have the peace of mind where it says, "Hey, a login attempt happened here." If that happened, maybe you want to check that you're still secure.
Right. Now, every so often, we also hear about another ransomware attack with criminals demanding big bucks. So, how do these work and what can businesses do to prevent these from happening?
So yeah, ransomware is terrible.
Yeah.
It gets its name simply from the kidnapping aspect.
Hmm.
But these kidnappers aren't going to return your whatever they've stolen, probably. So how it works is once you've let that software into your system, it will begin to encrypt everything. So it locks it all up with a password that's only known to the ransomer, and they will demand outrageous sums of money, or even rageous, I guess, sums of money to unlock and release your data. There is no guarantee that they'll do that. If they've already broken your system, you might not trust them to do that as well. So the first line of defense is education. Don't let people into your network who aren't supposed to be there. Don't open software that you're not supposed to be there. Avoid the malware in the first place. So that's the first line of defense. The second line of defense is keep separated backups. So if you're a business, you should have a backup plan. Talk to your IT provider about making sure that you have a solid IT backup plan where your data are frequently taken off the system and stored separately where they can't be manipulated. So then if you unfortunately fall victim to a ransomware attack, you can say, I guess we just bite that day's worth of data loss, and we restore from the backup, and we carry on as if we're in business.
Yeah. Now, to what degree are business owners investing in cybersecurity to prevent these kinds of attacks? And I mean, we're talking major money here, aren't we?
I imagine so. That's not really my strong suit. I don't know a lot about that business economics side. I know that the larger the business, the very much more money they will spend. In assessing cybersecurity risk, we often talk about footprint, and so the footprint of a larger organization is larger, and so you have more real estate, as it were, to protect more data, more information, and it's more valuable. It's more lucrative for the bad guys, as it were, to come in. So the larger the company, probably the more is spent. A lot of smaller companies maybe don't spend as much attention as they should, maybe simply because, well, I just run a mom and pop shop. Nobody's interested in my data. Mm, but maybe they are. If you get 100 mom and pop shops for $1,000 each, that's $100,000,
Yeah.
right?
No,
So,
exactly.
and when it comes down to your business, how much can you afford to not be in business? How long can you be out of, off the
Right.
off the market?
It's like
So,
insurance in a sense, isn't
abs-
it?
absolutely,
Hmm.
it is part of business continuity. What do you do if your computer systems go down? Like at all, but certainly at the hands of somebody nefarious, that'd be bad.
Yeah,
Or and
definitely.
even the damage to reputation. If I've been phished and someone were to then go out and send emails from my email account or from my Facebook account saying, "Hey, I just discovered this great thing." What damage to my reputation does that bring? What damage does that bring to my company or my institution?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen those before with some of our
Yes, we
friends
have.
on online, and it just doesn't sound like them. It seems a little suspicious, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
getting back to businesses, it seems then reasonable for businesses to start hiring more cybersecurity professionals. So how much demand is there now for hiring these tech people to provide this security?
There's a pretty steady but growing demand for this as people become more aware
Yeah.
of the risks and it becomes, well, back to the finances of it, the risk that you have to mitigate. It becomes a very good place to be if you're in the IT field. Uh, Again, with smaller companies, there's maybe a little bit less of it, but certainly there are IT companies around that will have people on staff that have some cybersecurity training that can help you as a smaller business mitigate that. If you're a larger business, you probably have your own IT department, and somebody on your staff probably should be responsible for cybersecurity.
Yeah. As a member of the public, we all have gone to hotels and used public Wi Fi, restaurants, hotels, library. How safe is that?
I'm gonna go against what most people think, and I mean it's mostly safe. Uh, the kind of attack you would get on a public Wi-Fi is typically what's called a man-in-the-middle attack, and that's where you think you're talking to the hotel Wi-Fi, but you're really talking to the criminal in room 308, and the criminal in room 308 has their Wi-Fi set to Marriott or whatever you're wherever you're staying, and then they're passing it through to the hotel or whatever, and
Oh,
so they can see all the traffic that you're sending. Right? That's what it is, and it's probably not good. Like I would not want to discuss a lot of I wouldn't do my banking over that. I wouldn't send any corporate messaging over that. But you can subscribe to VPN services, or quite often, if you're in a large organization, your company has a VPN policy. So even if there is somebody in the middle listening, everything is encrypted, so they can't figure out what you're saying.
Wow. Well, Stephen, it looks like we're out of time here, but it's such a big topic. We could have asked, I had so many more questions for you here, but we'll have to have you back on. But we appreciate you coming on today, Stephen.
Thank you so much for having me, and just check your email. Stay safe.
Thank you. Stephen Graham is a computer information technology instructor at Lethbridge Polytechnic. I'm Jeanette Roche on behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News. Thanks so much for watching.